welcome back. Sally Jablonski, Herbert Berg Florist, right here in Quinsigamond Village. And it's spring. And so what we're going to be doing today is making a spring arrangement. We're going to be using some tulips. And we're going to be doing something for the table. So whether you celebrate Easter or Passover, or you just want it for spring flowers on your table, you can do something like that. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna use some tulips. And what I like to do when I use the spring flowers, because the stems are not as stiff as a carnation, before we start greening, I like to put the tulips in. And also I like to make the tulips shorter because they will grow a couple of inches in the arrangement. So that's what I'm gonna do first. We're gonna make a long and low centerpiece, something if you are having on a long table or head table for a wedding, that's what we call it, long and low. It's gonna be an oval shape. I put the foam in, just a plastic container. So again, made sure the oasis was nice and wet. It's been soaking for an hour or so, so you don't wanna have any dry spots, because if the flower hits a dry spot, it's gonna collapse and you'll think it's dead. So this is what we're gonna start with. I do take some of the leaves off the tulips. I use my knife. And what I'm gonna do is I'm putting them in on an angle, but I'm making them short. So, because by the end of the week, they could be as tall as that. And then they start getting floppy. So I'm just gonna put them in. As you can see, I'm using both hands when I'm putting the tulips in, just because, like I said, their stems are not as thick as a daisy or a carnation, and they need a little bit of help getting in. I will do the greening afterwards. And they also grow up towards the light, so that's why I'm using them in the middle of the arrangement. If I put these out to the side, by the end of the week, they'll be turned up. So I'm not gonna put them out to the side. I'm just gonna use them in the middle. We'll use other flowers to make it elongated. So so that's 6. So I'm using 6. Afterwards, if we wanna add, I wanna add more, I'll add more. So what we're gonna use, like we use in class, and hopefully we're back to class in person by the fall. We're gonna use some leather fern. And we're gonna start making our shape of the arrangement with our greens. I'm taking some leaves off. I'm making it elongated on the ends and then shorter on the sides. So that gives you the long and low shape. You can do this for other holiday type arrangements, but this size seems to sit nice on, you know, a long table. And we do this for sweetheart tables. We do this for head tables. We call them long and lows. So we're making sure, again, we're making sure the leaves, the leather fern gets in at least an inch. This is not as long as that. And we're not gonna put greens throughout the arrangements, but we're gonna make sure to hide our container, because it's just a plastic container and we don't want to see that on the table. So we're just doing that. So this is the start of our arrangement. It's long this way and short this way. So that's what we do when we call a long and low arrangement. So what we're gonna do is, oops, my knife. I have some nice spider mums. They're in lavender. We're going to use these as our focal points. I'm going to put one in the middle, and then I'm going to put a couple of these off to the side. These are its natural colors, and usually when you think spring, you think more of the pastel colors. So I'm going to be using lavenders and yellows and a few other colors that we have. I'm not going to do red and white because that's more for the the winter holidays and more for the Christmas time. These are some Lavender Daisies. These are some mini carnations, again in the yellows and the lavenders. We're going to break these off, and I'm going to use these more towards the front and the back because they have shorter stems. And again, I'm making it so that they are on the edge of the arrangement. And then I use them all. And thankfully we're back to composting, and we're separating all our greens, and those will be going to the landfill. What else do we have that's fun to use? We have some wax flower. And then we have the yellow miniature carnations. So I want to use these for our length. And I'm just going to cut them so that they're longer, so that they fit into the foam. So you can start to see our arrangement taking shape. We're putting in the yellow. These are the mini carnations. We're cutting them off and we're using them throughout the arrangement. And when you make an arrangement like this, visualize the long and low, the oval shape, and then just stay within that plane. And we can add some wax flower. It has a nice fragrance to it. We can add a little bit now and then a little bit more towards the end. I'm not going to be using baby's breath. So we're going to kind of use the wax flower like we kind of use the baby's breath. And again, we're making sure, even though they're little bunches, we're making sure they're going into the foam because the flowers do drink water out of that foam. We have some nice, some lavender roses. This one is a true lavender. Sometimes they come in a little pinky, but this is a nice lavender rose. It's called Ocean Song. Again, I'm taking the leaves off, and we're going to use them probably in between the tulips so that you can see them as you're sitting at the table. Some of the roses have a nice fragrance, and some of them don't. So a lot of times the roses have been bred for shipping quality, so the fragrance has been bred out of them. So this one isn't totally fragrant, but some of them are. So pick this up so you can see it, turn it around. This is one of the basic style arrangements that we first learned when we were in floral design school. I had taken a class my freshman year at UMass Amherst. I was a Stockbridge student, and we had a class. We had one class in flower arranging, and I said, who wants to arrange flowers? And little did I know that this is what I would have my whole career doing. I was going to go to school for greenhouses, but when I got out, there wasn't many greenhouses left, so I kind of got into flower arranging after that. So this is, again, we're following. We need a little bit more. See what we have. We have some purples, and these are all natural colors, so it's kind of amazing through the years, even since when I've started, how many different colors that have been bred and weren't available several years ago. But these are all natural. And you know, even at St. Patrick's Day, there's, you know, green carnations, but they're not a big, they're more of a lime green. They're not the Kelly green, and those aren't natural. So we're adding, we have a little bit of pink, just to break up the lavender. And now we're just filling in the holes as far as different spots. I do, when you're looking here, I do want to add a little bit more here, so as you're sitting down, you're not just looking at greens. And you can begin to see too with the arrangement that there's varying shapes. We have the spider mums, we have the roses, we have tulips, we have mini carnations, we have daisies. So it makes it more of an interesting type of arrangement. That you have the different colors, you have the different flowers, and it gives a little bit of texture and a little bit of spring fragrance. It's so nice. We have the doors open today. So nice that it's like 50, 60 degrees out. We're getting ready for hopefully getting back to normal. And a little bit of flowers to brighten your day. Hopefully you've been able to get out and get a vaccine. So days are getting better. So this is our arrangement here. This is our basic arrangement. Now what we can do is if you had some Easter eggs or different things, you could add it to it. But certainly this could be on anybody's table. It doesn't necessarily have to be for Easter. It could be for spring. It could be celebrating that we're almost done with the COVID-19. So we have some pink lilies. Again, I always take the pollen out because I don't want it to stain. You have a tablecloth on. And we're just going to add a few lilies to the arrangement. And actually, when this opens, I would pull the pollen off. This is a nice pink color. And this is called an Asiatic Lily. They don't have any fragrance. It's the Oriental lilies, the stargazers, the big white lilies that have a lot of fragrance. So these don't have fragrance. But when you're working with these, you just have to be careful because you see here one come off, that the petals of the flowers, you got to be delicate with them so they don't come off. So just be careful if you're using lilies. And also, you know, I'm careful if they're in a wedding bouquet, if they have any pollen on it or if any buds are going to open, please take them off. So it happened to me once. I probably used a flower like that in a wedding bouquet and the pollen came off on the dress. And that was very early on in my career, and you only do that once. So if you can be careful and not do it, that would be great. So again, we're going to add, I think we need a little bit more of the wax flower. We're going to add it to the end, you know, and then, you know, this could be a long table. We can make the centerpieces bigger because we're not having so many people at our tables at home. So I'm just going to add a little bit more of that, a little bit of fragrance, just fill in the hole. And when you make an arrangement, don't, you know, try and give each flower a little bit of space so they have their own space. This is, and then with a little bit of the wax flower that we're doing, we're having it come above the flowers a little bit to give it a little bit more depth to the arrangement so it's not so flat. So kind of like you do when we're in class with the baby's breath, but this time I'm using the wax flower because it's available and it looks good. Sometimes we get flowers in and they don't, so you know, use what you can, what looks good. Fill in the spaces, you know, and then, you know, this is something, you know, check your garden, start to see what's starting to to blossom, what's starting to come out. I know it was fun. I was out checking my garden to see what's starting to come up. You can use a lot of things, you know, branches, leaves, different things from your garden. Just make sure when you cut them, before you use them in arrangement, you just condition them a couple of hours before you use them. So I know when we get flowers in from our delivery people, we're always conditioning them before we put them into an arrangement so that they'll last longer for you. So this is our arrangement. You turn it around. We have lilies, we have spider mums, we have roses, tulips. Again, these tulips are going to grow. That's why I cut them short. We have mini carnations. I didn't have any of the big carnations today. And it's in foam. So this is something too. Make sure you add water every other day or so. You don't have to worry about overwatering an arrangement because it's not a plant. And just keep the water in there. And if you're afraid of it spilling on your table, you can always put a little charger or something underneath and then just have it so it sits on your table. But you know, certainly it's a nice welcome to spring. Like I said, it's 50, 60 degrees out today and it just feels great. So I encourage you now to make some arrangements for yourself while we're still doing the end of the quarantine and have fun. So thank you, and we'll be back with another project in a minute. All right, so just went looking in my shop for a few things to add before I show you how to make a basket. But I picked some of the curly willow. You can pick other branches. Lots of times I look for the branches when there's a storm. And then just to add a little interest, just breaking the branches off and putting them into the arrangement. And it makes it a little bit more natural looking. Some people like those branches, some people don't. We usually ask. So, and then the other thing I found when I was going through my drawers is some butterflies. And you know, this time of year it's kind of fun to add a few things. And when I do, you know, these are all handmade in China. And then with these, you got to be careful so you don't pull the little wings off. But when you put them on, you know, I try to make it so they look natural. So I try and hide the wire. And then I try to make it so the butterfly looks like it's flying. I'm just going to twist that a little bit more. And then we're going to use our snips from our toolbox. And we're just going to wire this on. So that's just, you know, you can, once you get the basic arrangement done, you can add different things to it, you know, personalizing it, something from your garden, pick out something, some branches or some leaves or something. These can be saved, you can reuse them. So just be careful with them. So this is, now that it's finished, the, you know, holiday, whatever holiday you celebrate, whether it's Easter, Passover, or another holiday, we all can enjoy spring and the nice weather and have some flowers to brighten our day. So that's our major centerpiece. And I'm just going to put this over here. And if you don't, you know, have a long table, you can do a nice little Easter basket with spring flowers. And again, we're going to use some tulips. I just pulled these out of a cooler, and they have a little touch of lavender to them. Again, I'm taking the leaves off. I'm using the tulips first, and then I'm going to green. I'm going to use the tulips in the middle of the arrangement, similar to that I did with the long and low centerpiece. But this is just going to be a a basket. We might just call it a spring basket. Something to cheer someone up. Again, we recycle all our greens. We separate them, and just remember, if you're cleaning and you bring in 5 clean glass vases, we'll give you a free little bouquet for recycling. So, and you don't have to come in, you can call and leave them at the back door. A lot of people will do that, but we do take vases back. And if we can't use them, then we recycle them and send them somewhere else. So that's a little tidbit. So we're adding some greens after we do the tulips. And this is the same thing too if you're working with iris or daffodils. I would put them in first and then add your greens separate. So we're just, you know, making a cheery, you know, people say, oh, send a little spring something to cheer someone up. So this is just kind of like a pick-me-up basket. We're putting the greens in there, and you know, certainly the baskets can be recycled. There's a liner in here so the water doesn't come through. Always use a liner with some of these types of containers. And I know when I'm working in the art museum, I'm always checking the containers to make sure they don't wick water or anything like that. So, you know, be careful too for your own table as far as that goes. So this is an Easter basket. We have our tulips in. I grabbed a few more flowers downstairs. And this just came in this morning. This is called stock. This has a lovely fragrance. So we're gonna use this. So along with the spring flowers, we're gonna get a little bit of spring fragrance to the table. Again, I'm pulling the leaves off. And we're gonna put these around the basket. And I'm making sure they're in. And you can see their stems are a lot harder than the tulip stems. And we're gonna use our lily. I'm gonna take the pollen off. As you can see how that one's crushed. There's only 3 leaves on it. 3 petals, I should say. And we're gonna use these in the middle, because to me they're more of a focal flower than to use just off to the side. So we're gonna put those in the middle. I think I want another few lilies. And sometimes when you're working with lilies, you may want to use an apron or something. You know, your hands do get stained, so be careful. I don't usually wear something fancy at work because we're always working with something. So again, what I'm doing is I'm making the lilies kind of the central portion of the basket, and then I'm going to add some of the other flowers afterwards. We have our daisies. Again, we have our mini carnations. So with similar flowers, we're just making a different style arrangement. Again, I'm taking the stems off. These are short. I'm going to use these at the bottom and just put them around the arrangement. So I grew up in Millbury, Mass. Again, my dad had the best vegetable garden going, and my mom had flower gardens. So it's kind of the way I got interested. And then there was a great greenhouse across the street. So when after school, I couldn't wait to run down to the greenhouse to see what was growing. So I've been involved with flowers and plants for a long time. I enjoy it, especially this time of year when spring starts, to run out to the gardens to start to see what's coming up. So some of these I'm not using. They're a little bit short. They may have a little petal broken. And sometimes too, when they get to be really short, then you're going to use them all together. Like I'm going to use these, I'm not going to cut them apart. And then I'm going to move my tulip and my lily, and then I'm going to put my daisy in there. So as you can see, we're starting to go around the basket. And we're starting to put the purple minis in. And again, we're going to put these around. And then we're also going to, so you can start to see some of the holes here. We're gonna put some of the minis in here. So again, I'm using a knife when I'm arranging. I learned that way. I find it most comfortable. But again, for your toolbox, you can use these little clippers. You can use scissors. I do caution you on some of the flowers. They don't like the scissors, but with some of the regular flowers, the carnations and the daisies and things like that, scissors are okay. But if you had pruners or little snips, you know, something for your toolbox would be good. So we're not done yet. This is our basket. We'll turn it around. See, we're starting to give each flower its own space, so it's spaced out. And I can smell the stalk. It has that nice smell to it. So this arrangement is not only going to be springy, but it's going to have some fragrance. That one does not have any, believe even with the roses, doesn't have any fragrance at all. This one has a nice, it's very light. So, you know, sometimes with the Oriental lilies, they're very heavy, or even with the Easter lilies coming in, they can cause allergies. I know I can't have many of them in the shop when they start coming in because the fragrance is too strong for me. So this is where we're at. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put some of the wax flower in, some of the filler flower. And these sometimes too, you don't even need to use a clipper, they break right off. And we're just gonna put these in too. And again, with this fragrance, is gonna add to the fragrance of the stalk. And you know, sometimes we get requests for people that say, you know, some people don't have, their eyesight is poor and they want something that's a little bit fragrant. They will ask for that. So something, this is something I would use if somebody wanted something to focus a little bit more on the fragrance. Sometimes when I get that order, I'm like going around the shop looking to see what has the most fragrance, if there's anything. And it's funny, the white carnations have the most fragrance, the other colors don't. And it's a very cinnamon, it's a very light fragrance. It's cinnamon smell. So again here, put that there. This is our basket. We have lilies, we have stalk, we have tulips, we have mini carnations, all within the pinks and lavenders, kind of a monotone color. And then just to break it up, this is called trachelium, a little bit of green. It's a natural green flower, just to break it up so there isn't so much pink in there, and lavender. I'm just going to add a little bit of this for a little bit of something to break up all the colors, something that's neutral. And you can see it's kind of fuzzy, so it gives it another texture to the basket. So this is what we're doing. And you know, and this is sort of a long and low, but it's in a basket, so it's got a little bit different shape to it. And again, this is just a simple arrangement, one of the beginning ones, one of the first things you learn how to do. So I know when I was at UMass, my professor taught us all the old ways, so it was kind of good to have him. I wish he'd be around today to see what some of the things have happened with floral design, but he was a good teacher, and I'm glad I took that class at Stockbridge. And actually pretty much been my whole career is floral design. So this is our arrangement. Again, we have the light lavenders, the pinks, the greens, break it up a little bit. It's more on the monochromatic because it's all on the same tones. We have our tulips, and you'll watch them, they'll grow. And by the end of the week, they should be about an inch or two longer. So that's why I always want to, when you start with tulips, to start with them shorter, because eventually they will grow. So this is our spring basket. You can take it and deliver it somewhere, give it to someone to brighten their day. It's a lot of nice spring flowers in there, and there's a little bit of fragrance. So that's kind of the difference between that arrangement. And just to recap, this arrangement, we have the curly willow, we put some butterflies in there. And then what's nice about the curly willow is that you can start your own plants and have your own curly willow tree in the back. This is, as you can see, it's sprouting, and these are some of the roots. And when it gets a little bit warmer, I'm gonna plant these out back. So once the arrangement goes, you can take these and put them in water and root your own for your own little curly willow tree. And they do like water, so if you can find a moist portion of your yard, that would be a great place to grow them. I have actually 2 that are starting that I'm going to use afterwards. So if these arrangements afterwards, you can recycle some of the things, you can bring back the container. Again, like I said, if you bring in 5 vases or containers that are clean, we'll give you a free bouquet. And we've been doing that for a lot of years. So, and you can dry the roses if you want, or the wax flower, and you can use that and put that into a wreath afterwards too. So there are some things that you can use. And if you don't want to do that, you can take all the flowers, dry them, and just make a bowl of potpourri. I've done that before too, when I've been given flowers for a special occasion. I did that when my son was born. I took all the flowers and made a big bowl of potpourri with it and kept it for a few years, and then I threw it out. So this is what we're doing. Again, pruners are great. If you use a knife, just be careful. I've been using it for a lot of years. And then just some of the things too, you know, the last time I showed you the glue pan, I do for small projects use the glue gun. I do like to keep it in a bowl so that when it's on, it's not going to cause a fire. So, you know, the glue guns are good. I also like the low temperature glue guns, so because they can get pretty hot as far as that goes. But that's, again, some of the things for your toolbox. Always, oh, that's my other knife. I was looking for a knife this morning. Scissors. I always have 1 pair of scissors to cut ribbon with, and other pairs to cut other things with. So, you know, it's kind of like my fabric scissors for sewing. I don't use that for cutting plants. So I do encourage you to have 2 different types of scissors. And always, you know, again, I'm always looking for something that's in my toolbox. Different things, different screwdrivers, the different things, believe it or not, we use it all. Little wire cutters, pliers, we can use that to bend some wire. So those are all, again, good things to have in your toolbox. And I'm just gonna get some wire. You know, and some of this colored wire, you know, once your arrangement is done, you can add different things, you know, for your own creativity. And this wire is nice, it's very bendable. And you can make different jewelry. People make different jewelry out of it. But then you can just make some circles. See how easily it bends? So we're just And we're just going to use this in the arrangement just to show you some different things that you can add for a little bit of fun to the arrangement. So we're just going to put in a little squiggly here, and then we're going to do one on the other side. There's different widths of this wire, so depending on what your project is. And then I just like to take and turn that in. So we're just bending it. If you want, you could put the butterflies on there, put different things. So it just, you know, adds, and there's 2, so you should probably do 3. 3 seems to be the magic number in floral design. So we're going to add another one to balance off the butterflies we have. So I'm just going to twist it. And we're just going to put it in here. And again, these things can be recycled. You can use them again. If you, like I said, if you want to make jewelry or something, you can do that. But just something to, you know, have fun. We're all inside. So, you know, with the quarantine and things like that, these are a few things you can look around your house, see what you have, recycle some things, recycle some containers. Some of the plastic things you can use, some of the butter tins or cottage cheese or something like that. You can use those inside a basket as a liner. So you don't always have to have, you know, the most perfect thing. This is our little Easter basket or spring basket, however you want to call it. This one has a lovely fragrance, so I encourage you, if you want something that smells great, the stock is very nice. And then, believe it or not, this arrangement here doesn't have any fragrance at all. So, you know, so just, you know, if people have allergies, different things, just get used to what is very fragrant. I caution you, these are the Asiatic lilies. They don't have any fragrance, but the Orientals and the Easter lilies that will be coming out have a lot of fragrance. So just be careful and just know that. And just remember, with the spring flowers, with the tulips, they do grow. So when you're starting them, start them short, because by the end of the week, they'll be long. So I do want to thank my videographer, Sandy Mikulak. We've been doing these a couple months. Hopefully you've learned something and had fun during this time. And hopefully we'll be back to the Senior Center in the fall in person. I know people have been calling and asking, and I said hopefully by fall we can be in person and we can get ready for the fall season. But for now, it's spring. Enjoy the weather, enjoy the flowers, and be safe and have fun. Thank you.